What's up, everybody?
All right, so
How's
I'm
it
still
going?
CTO. Okay, that checks out.
You're still CTO? Yeah.
Yeah, I think when Ben sent the tweet out, he said, "Join us today for CEO Josh Stone and CEO Woodland
Oh,
Pools."
oh.
So people were all like commenting about what that was all
Dual
about.
CEOs.
Yeah, I assumed. I said I thought it was a throwback to my chief emoji officer title back in the day. Um,
uh, well, I can't
yeah.
remember what Ben's real early or like second or third minute. What was it? He was like, he put something on Twitter. Gosh, it was funny, man.
Oh yeah,
But
the Frankenstein, the pubic tail now open.
there we go. Pubic cell now open. There we go. That's the
Mm,
ultimate. Yeah.
Pepperidge Farm
Pubic
remembers.
cell going live.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, public is difficult to spell sometimes. Anyway, welcome everybody to our Wednesday wrap up for the month of May. And I am Josh. I'm the CEO of Stuff.io, and we have Guillermo, our CTO.
Hello.
And this is our monthly get together for everybody who wants to hear the behind the scenes um, product and technical and engineering stuff that happened last month. Um, yeah, been a tough month out there for all of crypto, and yeah, sad to see our friends at Tap Tools go away because we talked to those guys several times at different events. Good guys, great team. You know, loved using their service, and but it's tough, dude. It's a tough market. Running a
Well, and it's
startup
also
is
it's not in a
difficult.
vacuum either, right? It's like
Yeah,
it's our friends at Tap Tools. After the month before was our friends at JPEG Store. It's hard, dude.
yeah, it's hard, man. Running a
It,
startup's hard,
yes it is. Yes it is.
especially in the Web3 space. So
Yeah.
anyway, we have lots of exciting things going on. You want to maybe go over some stuff
Well, that's the thing is,
on your
so I
list? You
kind of
want me to go
thought,
over my list?
yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. We do have a lot of exciting stuff going on. I'm not sure how much of it we're allowed to talk about, and so I will say, for folks, maybe just how about this, maybe
Because I've got a
because of
bunch of I've got a bunch of things that are not necessarily like things that were built that were not directly related to the big thing that we're working on.
yeah, but it might be like what might be helpful though because we've been working nonstop. I'm exhausted. I feel like I haven't slept in a month, but like I will say, and we can talk more about the agentic stuff and maybe some of those workflows possibly because that's just been an absolutely insane
Yeah,
productivity multiplier, and also too just a really really interesting entire skill set to tap into of like I don't know, it's solving a whole different set of problems of these very productive but kind of unpredictable workers, so to speak,
yeah,
and how do you it's just like any other employees, but just they could be just like the best employee you've ever had, or they could just show up to the office with like a nuke in their pocket, right? So you kind of just have to like, you have to put certain
yeah,
bounds around that you never had thought you might have to even think about. And then other
yeah.
things like, holy crap, that was incredible, right? And so I don't know. I feel like I want to capture one day like my thoughts around all of this in terms of how this actually works, but I still every
They'll be
day.
they'll be they'll be irrelevant by the time you capture
Yeah, exactly
them.
right. Exactly it. And to that point, I still, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm pretty good to go. And like every day, I probably spend at least an hour just on
Yeah.
making our processes working with agents better, right? Like
Yep.
every single day, nonstop. And like many times in the middle of the night, I'll like be laying in bed and I'm just like, oh, that's what we need to do. And I'll like shoot myself a message so that my brain can finally quiet down a little bit about the next thing that I need to do to like make the like agentic workflow better. So I'll just kind of from my side before I sort of hand it off to you for maybe some like higher level stuff, say like we're extremely busy. We're working like crazy and at a factor that I never thought possible. We're more productive than we've ever been and building really, really cool stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I can't really talk about what that stuff is, but it's very exciting for the company. And also, too, Ben and I were talking about this, like not just like the products that we're building that we're being, contracted to make, but these processes that we're refining on how we're doing it with the agents
Yeah.
is super exciting about what it means for our company and our capacity to build anything really, and just like how every iteration, every single day, the process by which we build these things is better than it was the day before.
Yeah.
And it keeps compounding. So um, I'm absolutely exhausted and just so optimistic about how much we can do and the kinds of things that we can tackle ahead of us. And I'll just set that as like sort of my tone from the technical side, and then maybe I'll let you kind of, if you want to take it from here in terms of what we can talk about and sort of your thoughts on
Sure.
on whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Was that it? Are you done?
I'm done. I'll jump in where we're relevant, but in
Okay.
terms of
Okay.
like things, I
Yeah.
don't know, man. Like I said, it's been not stop, but it's all been on the same focus thing that we can't even talk about. So I don't know. But,
No, I mean,
you know,
I'll touch on some of that briefly. So just so everybody knows, like, we're working on a very, very large contract that, basically, we're powering some infrastructure, and that's opened up some deeper relationships too. So, suffice to say, as far as um, the other startups out there, right? The Tap Tools and the JPEG stores and so forth. It is difficult because with both of them, right? It's like, and this has kind of been a problem with crypto. It's like there's not that they're running a extremely hopefully, right, is a hopefully extremely high volume but very, very, very low margin product. And then the long term net effect of that is like, yeah, if everything's booming and great, um, then you can survive on that margin. And if there's a downturn and there's not enough volume, then you suffer because your margin, your net margin isn't large enough to sustain that business. So the nice thing in this particular case with the business that we're closing, that we've been working on over the last month, is going to be exceptionally helpful, kind of long term, sustaining in some ways. So not that it's like the biggest deal ever, but it's good. It allows us to just like we were saying, it's difficult running a startup, right? The number one you know goal of any startup is just to survive, right? So
yeah, that's one of my
it's like
favorite quotes. The key to staying in
uh,
business is staying in business.
yeah, it's like, how do you modify? How do you got to be a cockroach, kind of. You got to just freaking figure out how to stay alive, right? And sometimes you get to those points when in some businesses where they decide that that's not no longer sustainable. So for us, thankfully, the one big thing I think that you'd actually put a lot of time into, and sort of some of that got paused, is all of the print books, right? So
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've been working with Ingram on the print book ingestion of 12 million titles, and we actually have adjusted all that, I think, and we've gotten pretty far down the path. And so we're going to get back to that here in probably a few weeks and get all of that launched. I don't know if you want to say anything about the kind of schedule around it, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the idea is we will have the entirety of the 12 million print titles, and when you purchase those print titles, then a portion of what gets purchased we are going to use to go back and purchase stuff token. And then as people are buying those things too, then they'll receive some small amount of stuff token too when they purchase them. And that sort of coincides with the Stakeful stuff. But I'll let you talk about print book stuff before we talk about Stakeful stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and we can do both. But yeah, that's actually a really great point. I'm glad you brought that up. It feels like a year ago, but yeah, it was just
Yeah,
a little bit.
that's why I was
Less,
like, you think you don't have anything to talk about, but that's because like in 1 month's time we lived like two lifetimes.
all these gray hairs are from just this morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's a great point. So and also too, that's awesome. Like as you're saying that, kind of helps me reflect on. We paused on that maybe about like 3 weeks ago, like right around when we did our Wednesday wrap up last month. And even now thinking about, last month we were already talking about how insanely productive all this agentic stuff was. And even now, like thinking about how much it's advanced since then, not only in like Anthropic's tools, but also like our tooling around it. I'm stoked to see like once we pick this back up, like, so for everyone to know, to Josh's point, we've done all the wiring, we've ingested the 12 million titles. the next thing that's up is to actually kick off the integration process and testing with Ingram. So we got their credentials ready to start those tests. And yeah, man, like with the amount of ground we've covered in the past month on this other stuff that we've been working on, I'm really excited to see how fast we can move on getting the print subtle stuff going. Because that'll just be like, I mean, because the other thing too is even if the integration testing itself is kind of slow with Ingram, then what we can do is in parallel be building out all of the other stuff that we need to do. So it's kind of like, okay, how do we, give people updates of where their shipment is in the process, and how do we handle refunds, and how do we calculate shipping costs, and which some of the things we already have built, right? But then like all these other peripherals, right? That like, because now I think of everything in terms of like a top level master plan with all of its other master plans and all of those other tracks, and then I think about like how I can parallelize all these things to different agents at different times, right? And so we think of it that way, like the ingestion sort of one column, the testing with Ingram of that is another column, but totally independent is all of the verification and stuff of like how and where we're shipping it to, how we're handling like refunds and things, right? And all of those things are things that can be done basically in parallel while now with the kind of workflows that we have while we're doing the integration testing with Ingram. So I think we're going to make, to your point, probably starting around the end of this month, we can start making some huge progress on moving forward on that. And people will start seeing like an actual print catalog. I'd say probably the next couple months, people will start seeing that going live in terms of like a real print catalog that we can fire off.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the exciting thing about that too is kind of what we were talking about, right? It's like, we're still here, and we're pivoting into these things. So, some of the stuff we've learned from publishers, some of the stuff just from the ecosystem, shifting and using stuff as, loyalty system around buying print, and then, we're in the process on the ebook and audiobook side of things too for much larger ingestion efforts there. And so, yeah, I mean, we are moving forward and doing so quickly, and, trying to, think about, if there was a system on Kindle that had, a loyalty system baked in, right? And that's sort of like where we're headed with a lot of these things, and kind of goes back to that issue of, if you're high volume, low margin, and in our case, it's like, we do make a decent margin on these items, which allows us to sell a real product and be a sustainable company, right? So, yeah, it's super exciting. Like there's a lot of things that we're working on and building actively, which is cool.
Yeah. And I think with that too, since you were mentioning the token, we can talk a little about the stake pool. I know folks are curious about that. So, maybe I'll just talk through that a little bit. Well, I mean, actually, I don't know if you did a lot of work on the white paper, the tokenomics and all that. I don't know if you want to talk about sort of your vision for what the stake pool like was and the purpose that it served, and kind of like now that we're sunsetting it.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is like originally, no, I mean, the original kind of business case for the stake pool, right, was we wanted to, participate in the Cardano ecosystem. We wanted to run a pool. We were, I think, at that time we'd already actually had the token sell happen. So it was more of just a way to, reward people. And, ultimately I think came to kind of the decision where like, hey, we don't want to give stuff token away for free. We want people who want it to have to buy it. Right. So, we were offering an incentive for that stake pool too, where you got a, like a bonus amount. And then, which is public data, but you can go out there and look at it. Like for a while, IOG staked a large volume with us, and then they shuffle things away and move things around, and when they shuffled away, it's like, yeah, I don't know if this makes like financial sense to keep operating this thing, and we were never really intended on being like a big SPO or something. It was more of just like a participation thing and trying to get people involved and active with token, and so just kind of come to the conclusion of it where we're like, we don't want to give away extra tokens for free. We'd much rather integrate that with these purchasing loyalty systems, and tie that with actual product sales, right? So that was kind of the more business side of it. And so yeah, if you're interested, there's a great hosky pool called. I can give you your shameless plug. You should
Sure.
go put your tokens with Guillermo and his woodland pools.
Yeah, the Aspen Stake Pool by Woodland
There
Pools
you go.
is happy to welcome any new delegators. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, but so to that point, right? I mean, yeah, the pool's run. I have to do the math to look exactly, but we ran the pool for over a year, maybe like almost a couple of years.
Oh,
Like actually, no,
yeah, I think
like a couple of
yeah,
years.
quite a
No, like
while.
two,
Yeah, a couple of years,
yeah,
man.
almost
Yeah.
more than 2 full years now that I think about it.
Well, and a lot of that was seeded with tokens that we didn't sell
Yep.
in the initial token offering, and instead of just like keeping them or burning them, we were like, well, let's give them back to the community, right? That was kind of the original genesis
Yeah.
of like, we've got a whole bunch of tokens. What should we do with them? We don't want to like take them ourselves. We should, you know, give them back, basically, right?
Yeah, you know what could be cool if you know, I don't know, like if Ben or Sheila or Mansky or somebody, it might be kind of cool to do like a by the numbers of like the pool, right? Where it's kind of like because if you think about
Yeah.
it, like I'm just off the top of my head, it's like it was running for like over 2 years. I'm looking at the block producer right now. Like we minted over 1,600 blocks with the stake pool. Like as of right now, we have about like 900 delegators. But it'd be interesting to see like what was the max delegators, max size we had. How many blocks we
Yeah.
minted.
Yep.
Like how much ADA moved through the pool, like that kind of stuff could be kind of fun to look
Yeah.
at. But anyway, yeah. So it was,
Sure.
it was cool while it lasted. I think it was a fun initiative and experiment for the company to run. Yeah, and now it's like, okay, we'll wind it down. I want to talk concretely about just some numbers for folks. The retirement certificate was submitted, I think, on Monday. Yeah, on Monday we fired it off, and the retirement of a stake pool happens at an epic boundary, and so the retirement itself will happen almost exactly 1 month from now on Friday, July 3rd. There's an epic boundary that afternoon. So at that epic boundary, the stuffed stake pool will be officially shut down. And from that point on, it will no longer be assigned and therefore no longer minting any blocks and therefore no more rewards. So make sure that between now and you can do it right before then, if you want to stick around and get the last bit of stuff token, you can do that. But I definitely recommend that before the boundary on Friday, July 3rd, you delegate to another stake pool to make sure that you don't lose your staking rewards. Then in terms of the stuff token that you've accumulated and being able to claim that, that is going to run, if I'm not mistaken, Ben is going to be putting together with the team a full FAQ on all of this. And I know he did an initial tweet about it. But the staking claim rewards portal to get the book, the stuff token, that will run, I think, until like the beginning of August. And then if after that, if you haven't claimed it, then you'll have to reach out to support and we'll manually get you the remaining tokens that you have. So yeah, that stuff token is that you've accumulated over this time is still there. Go and claim it. And yeah.
Does not mean we're going away. Quite the opposite. We're just trying to
Yeah.
focus, and it's like running a stake pool is not our business, so we don't need to focus on it. It's really what it comes down to. Like we got too many other things going on.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. Like it was a cool thing that we did, and like I said, we've got a bunch of irons in the fire, and so now we'll just do other stuff. But
well,
like
and I think we learned. We definitely learned some stuff too because we did it sort of maybe the wrong way in the beginning, and then did it more, the right way. And yeah, technical stuff.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
That's a nice way to put it.
That is a nice way to put it. So,
all right. Well, I got a bunch of other stuff too, unless you got
yeah. Let's do it. Go for it. Dig in.
So I messaged Sheila because she's helping run this to see if she could put some stuff up on the screen. So, one thing that that we have been, talking a lot about is obviously, a lot of things happening with AI, but just like what's happening industry wise with a lot of organizations, an issue, right, with AI, which I've said many times before on other spaces and stuff, is that AI obviously allows everybody to create an infinite amount of things, including content, right? Especially, obviously music and video and all these things. There's no real way to determine which things are authentic or not counterfeit, and I think that will, continue to be um, obviously like a growing issue, especially like going into like election cycles and stuff, where we're seeing political ads and videos of candidates doing things that are totally AI created, which is kind of shocking to me that that's not taken down. But obviously that stuff's going to continue. So from a corporate standpoint, the way that I've been thinking about implementing that is using DEAs to secure company files, right? So that could be like a variety of different types of files. It could be, documents. It could be, board minutes. It could be financial statements. It could be like a whole host of different things that, patents or IP stuff, or, you think about like clinical trial stuff or legal paperwork or auditory stuff or regulatory things, all of these things, right? That an AI can obviously quickly create a fake or altered version of, and with the kind of increased issue on the security side of, bad actors using AI to maybe penetrate uh, organizations and either delete and remove or alter documents, right? So DEAs are a great solution for this, actually. So we can allow organizations to take advantage of this. So Sheila, can you put the enterprise stuff up? Yeah. So this is a like a little microsite that we launched. It's just enterprise.stuff.io, and basically, we'll put a post to this, or I'll put a tweet out about it or something. But the idea of it is like using, it's kind of a response to what's happening in AI from a business perspective, right? So we've had some conversations with some larger entities too around how we could do this, right? Where that could be, in a couple different ways, but essentially taking the architecture of everything that we've built for books, music, and video, and applying that to larger organizations that can use this, right? So the intention will be that we would set this on top of our own blockchain, either an L2 or something similar. And we, as we mentioned before, we were in the process of building L2, and then some of that got paused because some of the team that was building it disbanded, which was, we were using a third party team to do that. So we've been reviving some of those conversations too of like, how exactly we do this. But right now we could do this technically. We would just be deploying it to an existing chain. Obviously, for stuff holders, the incentive is, hey, we want to have this on like a media chain where all these things would set, right? So then we can control fees, and we can control these things a bit closer, and then to the extent even where we can have sort of a multi-sig kind of a policy, where if an organization wants to kind of run that in their own sort of stack, if they want us to be a holder of that key, if they want to hold the key, there's a variety of different ways that we can basically take the IP that constitutes what a DEA is and apply it to enterprise applications. So, and part of that honestly could be too, which I think will be a big portion of that, is companies don't want all of their documentation and everything out there in the public. But then at the same time, companies do want to have access when they're working to, an instance of AI that understands or knows or has context of all that documentation, right? It could be business contracts, whatever. So this could be a way where we can actually use DEAs to access control those files, and then allow the AI to have access to those things in a protected way where that isn't exposed in any sort of public way, right? And so, yeah, it's just one of the other kind of revenue channels that we're going down, I guess.
Yeah.
You want to say anything about any of that?
No, I think it totally makes sense. And then some of the stuff that with those like different models, it's kind of stuff that you and I've talked about a lot for some other ventures as well too, where especially when you start thinking about the notion of layer twos, um, you know a lot of times when people think about blockchains, there's this immediate conflation between the notion of a blockchain and and openness and decentralization. And those three things are actually three different things, right? And you have like in some instances where you have like a private company, they might be interested in something that by design is less centralized or that's not open at all. And it could be something where we help facilitate for companies like, a private blockchain that they're operating. And so then, or like similarly, like it could be on a layer two that we're providing. But then when you look at things like librarian keys and stuff like that, instead of those being custodial by us, there's no reason why all of those things couldn't be facilitated by a whole librarian set of decryption keys that are managed by that specific custodian for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so like, you know, we've that sort of I like to think of it in terms of like the first approach that we took was in this way that we publish to a public blockchain and we serve as that intermediary for everyone. And then we were talking for a long time about, and we're still thinking about like, how do we make it that we kind of remove ourselves as a single point of failure? And part of it, especially when it comes to larger enterprises, is that we let them choose who the holders of those, keys are to do those things,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't have to necessarily be interoperable at all with the network that also holds a tale of two cities or whatever else, as a DEA, right? Like those things don't have to exist in the same ecosystem by definition. They can,
Yeah.
but they don't need to. And so when you start thinking of it in terms of like the technology itself being transportable and almost like isomorphic between like lots of different channels that it can move between, it becomes a much more interesting value proposition of like the core of the technology itself rendering a need, and you just plug it into whatever different kinds of infrastructure that need sort of presents itself as.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's exactly right. And and some of the bigger, kind of more, I'd say, some of the larger national type initiatives we've talked about too, could actually end up being sort of like you said, right? Like this kind of federated key approach where there's like a nonprofit sort of construct that they all own um, parts. They're all key holders in that, right?
Yep.
So it's pretty cool because it's like I think those things still are decentralized. Obviously, those things are. It's a whole different use case, right? It's not
Yep. Mm-hmm.
maybe specifically not what we intended to do, and but like startup life, right? You pivot, right? Not that we're moving away from the public um, side of things at all. And I think the interesting thing is like I don't know. There's a lot there, right? And how we can kind of deploy and take the things that we have and retool them in different ways that we listen to the market and then it's obviously see what's happening because when we started this thing back in 2021 AI didn't exist like it does now, right? So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, all new problems to solve and yeah, it's really cool. So that was one. So then another one is galley forecast.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
this one is as we've gotten deeper into um, uh, I'd say maybe multi-agent kind of processing. What this essentially does for people that don't know, in the uh, in the publishing space, if you send out a copy of a book early for people to review it, and hopefully leave reviews or send you back quotes that you can put on the back of the cover, those types of things. Sort of prior to that step and all of that happening, which like we have that capacity and all of that from our promotional code side, and obviously I have all the reader and all those sorts of things like already sort of pre-existing. Prior to that occurrence, what we realized was which is kind of funny, right? Like you could take you could take a book and you can give it to an AI, and with some amount of work and tinkering, you can get it to contextually read the whole thing. Although it's like it can get kind of a little gnarly because like usually you can't put like a whole prompt of like 80,000 words in, right? So you have to get like uh, tricky about how you do that and how it like holds that context in a bunch of different ways. And so what I started experimenting with a lot were these like multi-agent swarms and how we can basically take advantage of you know uh, getting a whole bunch of agents to then read that, and then they basically argue out what they think about the book, and then they come to a consensus, and it essentially builds this super robust report, which sort of also in tandem builds a kind of a feedback loop for what that content is, and then also like a strategy and a marketing and deployment plan for that content, right? So yeah, from the, the authors that we've done some kind of pre-processing work for, like, I mean, they literally have said, this would have literally changed the entire way that they, did all their marketing. It would have changed the way that they wrote future books. They could have changed content in it, because it will even tell you like how that's going to be received, and then it balances that out across like critics and then also fans, and comes to like a consensus approximated 5 point, like how many stars they would potentially get on a platform. It gives them you know basically a set of different social posts of how it could be perceived across different social networks. So like really robust, like very powerful kind of pre tool before you would then say like, okay, now I do want to send this out, or I'm going to take this data, I'm going to make some modifications. Now I'm ready to go sell, and now I have like a strategy of how I want to do that and where I want to execute, and like, so I've been kind of going down the path of that, and Sheila's actually been building out kind of on the marketing engine side, like, the another component of what could happen, right? Like you could take those findings, you could then dump them into a marketing system that's automated, and sort of building, looking at more of how we build like this kind of suite of tools for authors. And yeah, so it's it's pretty robust, and continuing to modify and build the back end. We're doing a bunch of QA right now around it, and yeah, it's a kind of, I'd say it's in our kind of soft launch period or something like that, right? Like we're kind of doing final QA testing on it. We've found a few things like like Nacho tested like putting a play script through it today, and it didn't like that because it was like one giant chapter. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of things to consider when it's like processing. And I got super deep in the weeds on all the AI process. Hey, I was going to tell you, I got a so NVIDIA launched they've launched platform, I don't know, maybe like back in the fall or maybe even a year ago or something, the Jetson Orin. And I just got the Nano Super Developer Kit, and so I'm working through setting all that up through their system and like Ubuntu. And but basically it's like it's super tiny, man. It's like, I mean, it's literally like the size of an iPhone, and it will do 70 billion transaction parameters per second.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I've been playing with a lot of like local models and like open source models, and like the first kind of reports that I ran through this too, like I was using open source models, and they're taking a long time to do. But some of it is just like figuring this stuff out, and like we said at the beginning, right? It's like things are changing so fast, like every day, like it's hard to keep up with that, and so as part of that, kind of like as a spinoff of that, I had been doing I did a couple lectures at two different universities here in North Texas, and had really good responses, and lots of really good conversations. And so from that, we actually launched I'd say maybe more legally accurately, we're in the process of launching a nonprofit called North Texas AI, and we have a site for that too. I think Sheila will put that up. But so if you live in North Texas, we're going to have our first meetup that we've partnered with the city of McKinney on June 15th at a brewery here in McKinney. And then we're also working with a couple other cities. We're working with several universities. We're working with several startup and investor groups. And really the central idea is I'm working like you are, right? It's like way too much, right? Where I'm just like behind my screen for 18 hours a day, talking to agents, talking to them on my phone when I'm laying in bed at 3 in the morning, like, and it's hard to like have a time to come up for air. But when I do, and I actually have, and it's not, and I have a conversation with somebody who also is building in the space, like, you immediately learn a whole lot, right? Every time we
Yeah.
talk, right, it's like I'm learning stuff from you. Like I
Yeah.
hope, maybe I'm telling you something that
Yeah, yeah,
you're picking up,
definitely.
but maybe not. But anytime I'm talking to
No, for
somebody
sure.
about AI, it's like I'm learning. Like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that, and like, oh, I need to go research that, or maybe I should have agents do things this way or that way, or like, how'd you have yours set up? And like, oh, that's a cool thing to add. And like, so that's kind of the genesis of it. Was like, how do we get uh, a meetup going where, and we're going to run it in kind of a different format too, where, I go to a lot of networking events, but, a lot of times you go and there's 100 people there, you kind of talk to a few people and, it's like maybe, a lot of times like it ends up being totally irrelevant, right? It's like, oh, I met some random banker and then I talked to somebody else who, is in insurance or something, or and so what the purpose of this is that if you're actively using AI to build things, then everybody will get like a very short amount of time, like 30 to 60 seconds to share what it is that they're building, and we'll kind of go through them like real fast, bam, 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 bam. So maybe that lasts for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. And then at that point, right, everybody knows like what everybody else is actually building. So then as a builder, I can go and say, hey, I want to talk to that guy because something he said, made a lot of sense. Or if, you're from an investment group and you're there, it's like, oh, hey, this seemed like an interesting project. Maybe we want to talk to them about fundraising. Because on the fundraising side, it's been interesting. Like the groups that I've talked to, they're having kind of similar problems that AI is creating, where it's like it's a deal flow problem, right? Like they exist on deploying capital from their partners that they've raised cash from, but the problem is like a lot of those early angel and seed investment rounds have kind of gone away because now I can somebody can just use AI to build that kind of demo MVP type product. And so they're not seeing as much, and so it's like, well, how do we get them in front of how do we get them in front of uh, builders who are building something where that capital could really help them from the growth side and connection networking side, marketing or product access, those types of things. And equally, working with the cities like North Texas in particular is just it's a massive hub, right? It is if North Texas by itself was a state, it would be bigger than 40 other states in the U.S.
Oh wow.
Population wise,
Yeah.
and in many instances, like actual like area wise, especially from the East Coast, like it's big. It's the number one destination, which is kind of crazy. It's the number one destination for U-Haul right now in North Texas. Like more people moving here than anywhere else in the U.S. There's like 20% of the like Fortune 100 companies or something are located here. You got tons of people coming from California, tons of people coming from New York. And specifically, when I met with several of the cities, they have told me like there are a ton of people coming here with a lot of capital, with a lot of technical expertise, who are being driven here because of political or tax consequence and reasons, and interested in getting involved, but don't really know how. And there hasn't, there are a couple AI things kind of happening in town, but this is much more focused on just like how do we get this cross segment of all these things, and and even university students, right? Like some of these university students, like we've hired, right? Even at stuff, it's like we've hired, multiple kids like that, were halfway through college or just starting college, who started to build something or were not interested in completing like traditional education, but got real into, programming or AI or something like that. And we end up hiring them. Right. So it's like, I think it's a cool opportunity for students to participate in that as well. So, yeah. And, from all that, it's like, we continue to kind of develop and look at, other ideas and like how the technology is like changing and shifting. And like, to me, it's fun because it feels like when I go to some of these things, like they feel like early, kind of like Bitcoin meetups, right? Like there are some there, and maybe it's like that, but like it's more accessible, right? It's like I'm talking to people. It's like I'm talking to people who are building stuff in healthcare, in insurance and like defense, and like all kinds of different like cross segments of industries that like never existed in the crypto space,
Yeah.
right? It was like if you were into crypto, it was like you were kind of like kind of a weirdo, to a certain extent, right? It was like, oh, you're like into that Bitcoin thing, but this is like it's so penetrating, but then it is easy for people to create things, and but then also, you know, a lot of times the things that, you know, like you've said, right? It's like anybody can kind of create a version of something, but it's not really an enterprise kind of deployable, like, you know, application that's like ready for prime time. So, you know, I'm super passionate about like innovation and you know, the newest thing. So of course, like I'm continually drawn into it. So that's why we you know, building the North Texas staff. So if you live in the North Texas area, or feel like making a drive, you can go RSVP and come down and hang out and talk about AI stuff and crypto and Web3 and, you know, whatever. Yeah, that was quite that was a long spiel about it, but
Yeah, no, it's
you
great.
know, it's super cool.
And the stats are interesting. Like when you're saying it's like that.
Did I bore you to death or you sleep?
Well, yeah, can you hear me? Oh
No,
no.
I lost your audio. Maybe it's me.
Okay. I think it is. I see my blinky
Let me
lights.
switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you hear me?
I still can't hear you.
Oh no.
Help, Sheila. Oh, Sheila can hear us both. I guess we'll just have to
I
sign
think
to each other or something. I don't know.
yeah.
Let me jump off and right back in. Hold on.
What should we all talk about until Josh comes back? Oh, Sheila, you can hop on.
I can hop on.
Yeah. Cool. How's it going?
I'm just a little side producer right now. No big deal.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. You know, one of these days when we get a big boy account, we won't have to like force you to like sit around and we could just like, you know, click things and like stuff ourselves. Yeah, it's weird. That was the second time in 3 months that's happened.
I know.
I don't know why. I don't know why it happens. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. You just like lose like just my audio. Oh, Sheila's gone.
Now I can't hear you again. What the flip?
Really?
As soon as Sheila went away. Come back, Sheila. Let me see if it
come back. Would only work if I'm here.
Didn't work.
Oh
man.
I'll be right back.
That's tough.
That is tough. As he just pauses. He just.
Mm-hmm.
I was so glad I was, you know, got to like do my hair and makeup for today's podcast.
Yeah, you did great.
Yeah, it's great.
He's
not even like it's not even hopping him off. I'll remove him manually.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah. This one's back. His other one never went away. That's crazy. Try this. How about that?
There you go.
I can hear now.
Hey, all right.
I think it's browser abuse because I leave my browser up for like weeks and never restart it.
Mini tab.
And I think it just can't take it. You know.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well.
Okay,
yeah. Okay. Bye, Sheila.
Freaking quit again. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm out. You're gonna have to wrap it up.
Yeah. No way. Is it because
there we go. I can hear you. Yeah, when you go away, I can't hear Guillermo.
That's so weird. Can you hear me now?
I still can't hear Guillermo.
What?
All right. Well, Sheila, do you want to wrap us up then?
Well,
we got through most of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, except for Wienerfest.
Oh yeah, I'm taking my wiener dog to. Where's my wiener dog? Hey, come here. I got a little wiener dog. Let me grab her. We'll shamelessly use it to promote it. Oh, she's over here trying to take a nap. There's Shelly. Wiener dog. She's only 5 months old. And she's going to be racing this Sunday at Tupps Brewery in downtown McKinney.
Wienerfest.
Oh, fantastic.
Now I can hear Guillermo. Perfect. Yeah, there you go.
We just needed to put up maybe we just needed to put up Wienerfest in order to get Guillermo's.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're here and you want to come support Shelly, she's going to be racing.
Don't take that. We should just close on this shot. Don't take it. Audio's working. We've got a good backdrop. You know.
Yeah. We don't have any comments either, so I think we're good to just close out.
Yeah, cool. I'm looking forward to this next month. I think is going to be a lot more heads down stuff, and then after that, we'll kick back into the physical bookshelf stuff and some of these other initiatives that you were talking about.
Yep.
A lot of exciting things right around the corner. Do we have one?
Yeah, we've got, we built some cool, Mansky built some really cool CRM tools. Like I said, Sheila's built some great marketing tools. We're working on kind of new styles and layouts. When we introduce the print stuff, we'll probably do new home pages too. Working on some new, creation studio minting engine type pages as well. Lots of things going on. I mean, lots. So, but yeah, all good.
Cool. Yeah, let's just call it there. I thought we were gonna go short today, and we went almost a full hour again. So, to your point, I lose track of how much stuff we're doing, and I always feel like, oh, okay, well, there's not that much to talk about, and there's just like a million things in flight. So,
yeah, I mean, I think some of these things too, right? Like the enterprise side, like the galley forecast, like all these things are adding are going to add revenue and be whole new lines of business that we were never really tapped into before, and some of them were not possible either. So yeah, that's good.
Cool. All right, sweet. Well,
All right.
another month in the books. Thanks for the help, Sheila.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks, Sheila. Awesome. Thanks everybody for showing up. We'll see y'all
Later.
later.